Hi, this is Amy Hooper, and here's version 2 of End of the Year Digital Checkout, where we'll be exploring Google Drive and touching base on just a little bit of Google Classroom, and then wrapping up with some Skyward basics. Our opening reflection question is: what do you typically do to prepare for the end of the school year? So just kind of think about any checklists you run through. Do you do any organization to kind of wrap up so you're kind of ready to go for the fall? Do you just kind of try to survive and hang in there? So share your thoughts in the dialogue box that pops up if you're taking this as a self-paced course, and you'll need to answer the question before you can move on. Our learning targets, first and foremost, we're going to just talk briefly about Google Drive versus desktop storage, just a kind of a quick reminder. We're going to look at creating a personal Google Chrome profile and kind of looking at toggling back between your work and your personal. That way you can kind of save your personal stuff for your personal profile and your work for your work. But then we can also kind of use our Google Drive and have shared folders so you can choose what you share to your personal through your work. So if you have like any materials that you want to hang on to, so if you were to like maybe move on from Marysville and lose your domain, you can share to that folder, have it shared between your work and your personal, and then you can make copies of stuff and hang on to it, because I know there's paperwork that we want to hang on to, these materials, and if we're not saving it to a hard drive or maybe an external, everything stored in the cloud, we want to save it to that Google Drive. Clean up your Google Classroom if applicable. Not everyone uses it, but we're not going to spend a lot of time, but there's some great tips in there. And it's not only necessarily applicable to Google Classroom, but into other aspects of our teaching careers here. And then lastly, again, Skyward Basics, just some suggestions and maybe some things you already know about, or maybe some things you don't know about when it comes to Skyward. As I said, a quick Google Drive reminder. Google Drive is where you want to save all your materials, not to your desktop. If your device were to crash, you will lose everything that is saved to your desktop, and the tech department may or may not be able to recover your lost materials. Also, the more you have saved to your desktop, the more likely it is to crash. So, look at this following screenshot. You want to go to your Google Drive, you want to click on that new button, and you want to use the following types of upload: either file upload to upload single files, or if you have whole folders stored on your desktop, you may want to upload that whole folder to your Google Drive. All right, we're going to watch a quick video on creating and using multiple Google Chrome profiles. She does a great job kind of taking you through a brief introduction of it, but I'm going to kind of show you some of the things she doesn't quite explain once she's done.
Hello, in this video, I'm going to show you how you can manage multiple profiles on Google Chrome. So chances are you probably have a professional Gmail or Google account, and then maybe you also have one that you like to use for personal use outside of work. And you probably want to have access to both of those on the same device. So the helpful thing to do is to add a separate profile on Google Chrome so that you can easily swap between the two of those and keep them separate pretty seamlessly. All right. So the difference between just having an account and then a profile is that a profile is a whole separate browsing experience associated with that profile. So I have my professional profile, which is what you see here, and has all my tutorials and things like that associated with it and those bookmarks. And my personal one has more of like my personal websites and all of those things that I like to use outside of work. Okay. So what I would do is you would sign into Google, pull up your Google Chrome browser like you usually would. And then in the top right corner up here is the profile button. All right. And to add another account, if you see here, I already have a couple. If I wanted to add a personal account, I would just click add. And then a new window pops up. And if I already have an existing Google account, I would just click sign in. And I would type in my login information. And then what that does is, as you see here from my examples, where I already have a few accounts, is it lets you pick between profiles. So after I've set up all my profile features, I actually have mine set up to where they're coded different colors, just so it's visually easy for me to see which one is which, and just as a visual cue that if I have this blue label in this background, and this is my work one. So that's what that one is. And my personal one has my picture of my dog and has a bright neon background so that I know if I'm on that one, I shouldn't be sending emails to my work colleagues because they're going to be really confused why it's coming from that email. So I like to set mine up to where there's some visual cues there so I remember. And to toggle back and forth between whatever profiles you would like, if I click my little person icon here, I would just select this profile and then it opens up that new profile here. So I'm now on my personal one there. All right. Other things to know is whenever you're managing multiple profiles, I always recommend turning on your sync settings here, just because when you turn on sync, that means that all of your browsing history, all of your bookmarks, and anything that you are saving specific to your browser, like your bookmarks and other things that you might want to keep, they travel with you from device to device as long as you're signed in to the browser. So you'll never lose and have to worry about adding back bookmarks after the fact. So those are just some tips for separating between your many digital tools in your personal and work life. And hopefully that's been helpful. Thanks for watching.
All right. As I said, she did a great job. However, she didn't tell you exactly how to change colors and code things so that you can distinguish between your different um, your different profiles. So let's go ahead and jump into what she was looking at. So up in your right hand corner, this is your profile. I'm going to click on it. We can see what she's talking about as far as the sync being on. Your sync collects your bookmarks and your passwords and all that. That means that it will transfer that information if you're to sign on to a different device. It doesn't bring your different bookmarks from profile to profile. All your different bookmarks within your profiles, all your different passwords within your profile stay with that profile. So all my bookmarks from instructional technology have nothing to do with my other profiles, my any of my Amy profiles or my business or family business profile. They don't interchange. Sync is important to have on. Melissa and I ran into this issue earlier in the year. This MSD bookmark folder up here in the upper left corner will only appear if your sync is on, because that means that our information being sent out from the technology department, this bookmark information is paired up when the sync is on with your profile, with your Marysville School District domain. So that's important to have that on. Now, I have a list of profiles here. If I want to change anything about my profiles, I'm going to go where it says other profiles. I'm going to go over to the right to where this little wheel is. It says manage profiles. I'm going to click on that. This is where she goes to. And then I'm going to work in instructional support. I'm going to go to, and these little symbols here indicate work. So work. This is my test student. It's also a work one, a work one. These are delegated. I share these emails with others from when I was in the library. This is also an organization email as well, and this is my personal. But getting back, I'm going to come into my instructional one. I'm going to click the more actions. I can delete a profile if I want to, but I'm going to show you how to edit. It's going to open up this tab. I'm going to come in. I'm going to change the colors. Let's go to a dark red orange. And then let's change. Let's see. I've had so many different. Let's go to. I'm kind of feeling a little hungry right now, actually. So let's go to sushi as our avatar um, for instructional support. So you could change your avatar if you wanted to upload a photo. You can also click where it has just the initial of the name instead. You could upload a photo or choose a photo to replace it instead, or you can choose an avatar. And that way you can distinguish, you can set different colors. You know up here which profile you're on by the color that's set. You can also select guest if you wanted maybe to have it set to guest mode for a sub. And then if you don't have a personal profile, you can come down to add and go to sign in. You'll have to create a new Gmail account or profile. And you can also come up here to profiles and toggle between. You can edit and you can add a profile as well. All right, let's continue on, shall we? All right, so you're going to take some time and a bit to create a personal profile. Once you have that personal profile, you're going to create a shared folder between your school domain drive and your personal Google Drive. That way you can drop files in that you want to keep. However, since it's coming from your school domain, that's where you created the file originally, that is who owns it. In order for you to have your own ownership over that particular files, like a Google Doc, you'll have to create your own copy. So this is only going to really work with things like slides, anything really in a Google Doc, slides, that kind of thing. You can always do like screenshots of PDFs, things like that. But you're going to drop them into your personal folder. I was going to have I will still show you transfer ownership. Unfortunately, as I found out, it does not work going from a work organization to a personal drive. So we're going to have to do a workaround, and creating copies of the materials is the way to work around that. So let's head over to Drive and take a look at that. So we're going to create a test folder. The other way would be to create this test folder, to download it, and then to upload it into your personal drive as well. But we're going to talk about just looking at sharing the materials. So test folder, 2-finger right click, and I select share. For this purpose, I'm just going to, I will share it with, I'm going to share it with my personal account. It's telling me that's outside of my organization. I'm also going to share it with, to illustrate the difference, with my other work. So, all right, so over on my right, I should have 2 people. And in order to see that, so again, we have share, and it tells me I have it shared with my personal and I have it shared with my other work. It says down here, restricted only people added can open with this link, share with Marysville School District. You can try changing it to anyone with the link, but that doesn't really seem to change anything as far as ownership goes. So we're going to go to details. I've tried giving ownership to other people. We can transfer ownership here, but it will not transfer ownership to anybody outside of my organization. I can transfer ownership of this file, though, to someone within my organization, such as that. Okay. So again, test folder, share, you can share it with your personal. That means whatever I drop into this folder, so now it shows a little bit of a different order. Before, instructional support was the one who had ownership over it. I transferred the ownership now to my work email, and these are the 2 people who have access to it. You can always change and manage your access here. Anyone with the internet link or the link to this folder can also edit it. You can also kind of see what the activity has been with this folder and keep track of the details here. Now, let's say I wanted to drop something into, let's say I wanted this project, I wanted to hang on to it. I'm going to drop it into my folder. Open it up. Now, if since I don't have, now as instructional, it is my my project, but now the person who owns the folder is my work one. So in order to keep ownership of it, I may want to, it does say already copy, I may want to make a copy in order for myself to hang on to a version of it that is owned by me. So this is what I would say make sure you do on your personal account is to go in and make copies so that you become owner. So if you lose access to your work drive, you still have a copy that you made under your personal account that belongs to you. All right. So those are the three things that you should be doing is create a personal profile, create a share folder that is shared between your work drive and your personal, and then put materials, create copies of materials from your folder in your personal profile. So you would slide materials into your work, then toggle back to your personal, get into that shared folder, and create any copies that you want to make your personal profile owners of. All right, now we're going to talk about 3 things to do to stay organized. So, I did the training today. I think a lot of people liked the idea of a master folder. So, we're going to talk about master folder now that you know about shared folders. And this is something you could do also with linking your personal profile with your personal drive with your work drive. Keeping track of what you do throughout the year. I mean, how you organize your master folder is entirely up to you, but it's kind of a way to keep track of the things you do throughout the school year. So you could go by month, you could go by week, you could go by unit, you could go by organize it by subject or month or however you want to organize it by. We're also going to look at color coding your folders to help easily define and distinguish them. And then lastly, we'll look at this video that talks about using descriptions for files. You can also use descriptions for folders, but I think it's most useful in order to find files within your Google Drive. So let's head back over. I'm going to show you creating, so we'll go back to my drive. I'm going to create 2 folders just so we can talk a little bit about using colors as well. So I'm going to create a master folder for this year. A little late in the game, but that's okay. And then I'm going to create a master folder. I'm going to get a head start so I don't wind up waiting till the last minute like I did this year for next year. All right, so I've got 2 master folders in here. And unfortunately, unless I look really close at the date, they look a lot alike. So I want to give some colors like they do here. So I'm going to assign them colors. So 2-finger right click, this little menu pops up. I'm going to go down to change color. I'm going to give this current year my favorite color, purple. And 2-finger right click, change color. I'm going to give next year my favorite color, we'll go dark green. All right. And again, I'm going to suggest that in case you want to keep these things, that you also share them with your personal profile. All right. And then, so we talked about color coding. We've shared the master folder. Again, however you decide to organize your materials within, create other folders maybe within your master folder is entirely up to you. So once you're within this master folder, you can create a new folder. You might call it maybe September maybe for next year. And it's already shared with who is shared with that main folder already. So again, if I was to get into my master folder here, and I wanted to, since we're already towards, maybe I'm going to create a folder that's just for the end of the year now, May, June, and that's still shared between the 2 people who are shared with the master folder 2021, 2022. All right, now I'll take a moment just to learn about using descriptions.
Hey guys, it's Lisa here today. In my last video, I showed all of you how you can organize and keep organized your Google Drive by creating folders and using colors and also creating subfolders. In today's video, I'm going to show you another tool that you can use to help you organize your Google Drive, which is using descriptions. I know our Google Drives can become entirely too much for us to handle. There's documents that we can't find. We're not sure what folder we stuck them in, and sometimes grabbing and dropping documents into folders and moving them sometimes creates more of a headache than anything else because we accidentally drop them in a folder and then we don't know where they are. By using descriptions, this will actually prevent you from losing your documents. So, for example, I'm just going to come down here to this one that says background. Okay, it's just easy for me to access. I'm going to right click this. Okay, and then I'm going to go to view details. Okay, so if I scroll down in the view details box that pops up over on the right hand side, you'll see at the bottom there's a thing for add description. So I'm going to edit that. I'm going to say turquoise background that I used for my website. Okay. And then here we go. There it is. Okay, now I can then take this. I can close my eyes and just drop that in. Oh, didn't even drop anywhere. Let's just say I accidentally dropped it in a teaching at home folder. And then I was looking for that later and I couldn't find it. All I have to do is go up and type in turquoise background. And there it's going to pop up. The description actually helps. If you only name your documents and then you don't remember what you named them, using the search bar at the top is not going to help you. So make sure that when you are creating documents, whatever kind of document it is, to remember to put a description in it so that you don't lose your documents. I hope this all helped you. Make sure that you stay tuned for the next video, which is going.
All right, so if you want to take a few minutes to create a master folder, if that's something that appeals to you, or color code, or add some description to your files, I suggest maybe doing that, and then take time to pause and come back, and we will finish up some suggestions for your Google Drive. All right. Next part of training on Google Drive, last part of training on Google Drive is taking it to the next level. So these are some fun things that you could do. Besides just color coding, you can also add some symbols or emojis to your labeling. So you can kind of distinguish and have your files and folders, rather, your folders in your Google Drive pop out a little bit. We'll also look at this video on it's relatively new using Google Drive Workspaces and Priority Page. I also think that maybe Workspaces could work really well with the whole idea of the master folder. So if you like the idea of the master folder, I really suggest paying kind of close attention to what he suggests in this video about doing like a using Workspaces for your weekly documents for the week. And then lastly, I'm going to show you how to easily add kind of a shortcut, basically to add multiple files to multiple folders using Shift and the Z key. So let's get into it. First of all, I'm going to take you over to coolsymbol.com is the website I use. There's lots of different websites out there that you can use. This is just one of them. It's pretty easy. Starts off with lots of symbols that you can choose from here. I'm going to go over to the emojis and I'm going to go to objects. And because this is technology, I'm going to take the laptop computer. I'm going to come back over to my drive. I'm going to go back to my drive and I'm going to go to, we have a folder, I believe it's called Tech Training. And I'm going to go 2-finger right click to rename. I'm going to give myself some space. I'm going to back up the cursor and I'm going to hit Command V for paste. And now there's a little picture of a laptop next to tech training. So that kind of signals to me tech and training device, laptop, and it bumps it to the front. So you can kind of use those symbols or emojis to help distinguish your different folders as well. All right, so we will go ahead and give this gentleman time to explain to you the new features of workspaces and the priority section of Google Drive.
I want to whip your Google Drive into shape the same way that we whipped your email and your bookmarks into shape. This one is one of my all-time favorites, and it's called Workspaces. Very few people ever talk about priority or workspaces in Google Drive. You may not have even known that it was there. But when I open up my Google Drive, I've got a section in the top left corner called Priority. So you probably thought, well, priority probably means that any of the messages that I use the most often, right? Probably. Well, sort of. It's sort of the documents that you use every day. That's part of it. That's the priority part. And if you take your mouse cursor and click and drag it over here to the right, you'll notice that we have approximately 10 different documents, most often used or most important documents that I use every day. They're highlighted as a thumbnail image at the top of my Google Drive, right under priority. So that's what they are. That's what the priority documents are. You can click on the three-dotted button next to any of those priority documents. You can move it to a folder. You can add a shortcut to your drive. I can show the file location where it resides on my Google Drive. I can add it to a workspace. I can share it. I can do all these things for any of these documents. But what about workspaces? What I've done is I've organized my Google life by going in and creating workspaces. Now you'll notice, and I'll let you take a look at these, I've got Google Training, I've got EdTech Insert. This is my department, my EdTech department that I belong to. It's part of instructional services, and it's also known as the curriculum department. So I put EdTech, instructional services, curriculum. Anything that falls into any of those categories, I add here for future use. If I click view for more, I can see all of them right here. And you'll notice right here, it says 9 of 25 file limit, which means that you get up to 25 files that can be stored away under that category. Kind of cool. Instead of having to make a folder, you can take documents that you've created recently and quickly organize them under a workspace title. So let's say that I took this and I wanted to hide it. I'm going to hide the workspace. And now I have room for one more. I've used up all the workspaces that I'm given. So what you're going to see is you're going to have a button that says Create. So what you can do is click the Create button and then give it a title. Let's see, this is the week of July 12th, July 12th. I'll call it week of July 12th. Okay, so these will be documents that I use the week of July 12th. That's kind of an interesting way of doing this. So I'm going to click Create. All right, and now it asks you, it will pop up this little window that says, get started by adding files to your workspace. So I'll click Add Files. And now I can start grabbing documents that I'm going to use for this week. So I'll scroll through and I can do searches using the search button. I could find them by file type, by date, or by owner, just like you can in Google Drive normally. So I might want to just quickly grab some recent documents that I'm going to use. So I know that this one I'm going to use this week. I can hold down my control key and grab some other documents that I'll be using this week, like these 4, okay? So I'm going to click on all of those, and then in the bottom right corner, you'll notice that I have a button that says Insert. So I've selected 4 documents that I'm going to use this week. I'm going to click Insert, And now they'll all be whisked into this priority workspace. And there you go. So I click done. And now I've created a brand new workspace. I've got, actually, it's organized alphabetically. That's why it came down here to the bottom right. So anything with a number will come up at the very top. And then it's alphabetical going from left to right. And week of July 12th alphabetically falls with a W, so it's going to be at the bottom. So you can create up to 8 workspaces at a time. And you'll notice, if you were watching very closely, you noticed that I had to hide one of the 8 workspaces that I currently had available. So the way I did that was I clicked the 3-dotted button next to the workspace, and I chose Hide Workspace. As soon as you watch what happens to this button that says Create, as soon as I hide a workspace, now it gets rid of that 8th workspace, and now I have room for one more. Since you only get 8, I can now click Create and start with a brand new workspace and give that a title, and then drag documents to that. So where do they go when you hide them? Just simply scroll down to the bottom of your workspace list and click Hidden Workspaces. And then you can click on any of these. Maybe I want tech tips to come back, or maybe I want this one right here, Ed Tech Instructional Services Curriculum. I might want that back. Maybe we have a staff meeting coming up soon. I can unhide the workspace and bring it back. And now I'm back to 8 workspaces, and I can continue to add more documents to that. The more recent documents will rise to the top. And also, if you click on View for More, you'll notice again, as I mentioned already, you get 25 slots. So I've only used 9, so I've got plenty of space here that I can add more documents. All I have to do is click Add Files, and I can find more files to add. So if you're very careful and you make these and name them with a name that really applies to what you're doing, you can actually be organized in your Google Drive without ever having to go back to your My Drive and have to create folders. This is a way you can organize yourself so you have everything all in one place, literally.
All right. So even after I talked about folders and shared folders, he basically said you don't even really need to have a My Drive and folders. But I also thought you could combine the workspaces with the master folder. So you could actually kind of organize your plans for the week, or even 8 days out, and have, or 8 weeks out if you wanted to do it by week, and have all your documents and slides and everything that you need right there in your workspace, and then move all those documents over to a folder, and then slide that folder, move it over into your master folder, and just kind of keep rotating it through. And that would kind of be a pretty good system. I would probably use that. Last thing I want to talk about is kind of moving those folders and moving those files around. So, well, moving files to folders. So let's head back over to Google Drive and take a look at this little shortcut. So let's say I want to move these 2 files right here, and I want to move them into both of my master folders, but I also want to keep them here. So it's basically going to be creating a shortcut. So they're going to live in my folders that I have shared with my personal, so I can get them through either account. But they're also going to stay here. So if I need to access them or put them in another folder, they'll still be there as well. So I'm going to hold down my Shift key, and I am going to select both files, so they're both highlighted blue. Then I'm going to hit Shift Z, and that's going to pop up this little menu. I'm going to go to My Drive, and then I'm going to select the master folder. I want to put it in this year's master folder. Let's say I want to put it in May, June. I want to add the shortcut there. And it's going to make sure that I want to give access to somebody who is outside, and then my domain. So I'm going to say that they can go ahead and edit. So remember, if you're in your personal and you want to be able to make those copies and have access to it, make sure you make sure that they're an editor. So we're going to do that. We're going to give access. They're outside, but we're going to give that shortcut anyway so that you'll have access to them. And we're going to do the same thing again. So again, I'm going to hold down my shift key. I'm going to select both files, hit shift and then Z, my drive, go to the folder that I want it in for next year. And I want it in September. I'm going to use it in September instead of May, June of next year. And we're going to say add shortcut. All right. So now we'll find it in September. Here we go to my drive. It's also going to be in May, June of this year. And we go back to my drive. Still lives here as well. All right, so before we completely abandon my drive, I want to go over one thing, and that's your storage. Down here at the bottom, you can click on storage and take a look at how much you're using. Anything here, files in your using your drive storage will show up. The things using the most amount of storage are going to be listed at the top and going down to descending order. Of course, movies, anything, video is going to be using the most. And then you can also see how much each item is. So drive, how much drive is using for your storage memory, how much Gmail is using for storage, and then how much photos. Photos you can access by coming into the waffle, clicking here, and scrolling down. You'll find photos. You'll find your photos here. Obviously, we don't have any photos in instructional support, so no need to worry about that there. Lovely list of 10 easy ways to clean up your Google Classroom. And they don't only pertain to Google Classroom, like I said. There are some things that are specific, but most of them can apply to other areas in your teaching world as well. So first and foremost, grade and return all work. I think that's a no-brainer. Archival classes. I'm going to show you that in just a moment. Remove or unenroll students. So anybody, if you have students that are no longer in your class, make sure you clear them from your classroom. Do not delete classroom folder in your drive. Students have submitted work. They still might need to get to the work they submitted, or they still might want access to it. It basically keeps your Google Classroom functioning. So do not delete that from your drive, even though we want to just tidy it up, clean up the storage. Do not delete Google Classroom files or folders. Clean up your Google Drive. We've kind of been going through that in the beginning of the training. Make a folder for exemplary work within your drive. Keep files and shared with me. You can't really clean it up. It's basically a filter, not a folder, so just leave it alone. Delete old classes and calendars. I'll show you that in a bit. Make a Google Classroom template. If you like your Google Classroom, if you want to basically what you've used in the past year, if you like it and you want to save a copy of it, you basically can use posts again. So you can copy posts from before and reshare them to Google, to new classes in the future. So you might want to hang on to or make copies of your classrooms, your Google Classrooms, just to basically go back and look at what you've posted, or to reuse a post. And reflect on your classroom practices. So let's go ahead and move over to Google Classroom and just take a look at those few things. And we'll also take a look at Google Classroom to Calendar as well. So the couple things that I wanted to show you. So we'll go to instructional technology. The 3 dots means more. You can copy a classroom, so create a copy of it, and you can archive it. Once you've archived it, you want to come up to these 3 lines, the main menu, open that up, come down and click here to find all of your archived classes. All right. Now, when you go to when I was saying about copying a post, you can reuse a post from an old class. So when I say copy a class, there you have classes that you've had in the past. You can copy posts from them. So it'll bring up old classes. And then if you want to delete Google Classroom calendars from your calendar, let's jump into calendar for just a second. Let's find maybe a calendar like conferences we don't really need. I'm going to go to my 3 dots over here, options for conferences. I want to click on that. I'm going to go to settings and sharing. I'm going to scroll all the way down. I'm going to hit delete. I'm going to permanently delete it. And then that will remove it from my calendar. So if you have stacks and stacks of Google Classroom calendars on your calendar, you may want to go through and delete them all. All right, what is one big takeaway from the training on Google Drive and Google Profiles that you learned? And even if you don't use Google Classroom, what is one thing that stands out to you from the list on the previous slide and why? You'll need to answer these questions before you can move on with the training. All right, here's a short video and 10 things to know about Skyward.
Welcome to our top 10 list. Here are 10 Skyward features every teacher should know. Number 10, Teacher Quick Entry Widget. Widgets give you a direct link to places you frequent in the software. Add the Quick Entry widget to your dashboard to jump straight to the grade entry screen. Number 9, Progress Reports. Run reports for your students to track their progress. Reports can be a snapshot in time, for instance, a student's last several weeks, or a report that displays the entire semester. You can also determine how many classes are displayed on the report. Number 8, Assignments via the mobile app. Add and score assignments on the go. You can use your phone or tablet to create assignments and post them for your students. Grading papers away from your desk? No need to wait until later to enter grades. Post them straight from your mobile device as well. Number 7, Attendance via the mobile app. Take attendance straight from your phone or tablet. Mark tardies and absences with the touch of a finger, then quickly move on to the start of your lesson plan. Number 6, Discipline referrals. Help your school keep a digital record of students' behaviors. If a student is misbehaving, you can add a discipline referral, complete with a detailed report of what happened. Number 5, Term grade override. When the end of the term rolls around, use your discretion to determine whether to override gradebook calculations. You can choose to make adjustments by grade mark or by percentage. Number 4, Assignments. When you're ready to assign the first task for your class, the Assignments feature is the place to go. It's highly customizable. Set a go-live date, categorize the assignment, assign students to complete the assignment online, and make supporting material available. Number 3, Student Locator. You've heard it said, expect the best, prepare for the worst. If a crisis strikes your district, the Student Locator makes it easy for you to know in an instant where in the building each student is. Parents will also appreciate how quickly you can locate their children when they call. Number 2, Seating charts. It's easy to generate a seating chart for your class. Drag and drop the students' photos to build a chart. If you're off for the day, your sub will have no problem stepping in and taking attendance with the help of this chart. Number 1, Messages. You can use the Message Center to communicate with students and parents individually or your entire class. The Message Center makes it easy to stay in touch, whether giving parents updates about a student's struggles or sending a quick reminder about an upcoming field trip. We hope mastering this top 10 list will propel you through your next school year. Check out these tutorials to dive deeper into the features on our list.
All right, so just a heads up, the only one on that list that teachers do not have access to would be the student locator. That one's only on the student management end, and I think student management would be for people like counselors and administrators who do things like scheduling. So that's the only one. All right. So our next video is all about your dashboard, basically, of Skyward. So it talks about selecting widgets, moving widgets around. So if you want to kind of set up your dashboard to make it a little bit more convenient for you, this is a good video to watch.
Hi, I'm Tyler. You use Educator Access Plus every day, but do you know how much personalization is possible? Don't settle for default settings. What you see and how you see it is totally up to you. Let's take a closer look. With widgets, you can personalize your Skyward dashboard so you can view information that is important to you and quickly and easily access the tools you use most. To get started, click on Select Widgets in the Jump to Other Dashboards box in the upper left. Search through the available widgets and select any you'd like to add to your homepage. If you don't already have Teacher Quick Access selected, that one's a must. When you're done, click Save. Teacher Quick Access gives you one-click access to your gradebook, as well as attendance entry and information for every class you teach. You can further customize this widget or any other widget by hovering over the arrow circle in the upper right corner and selecting Options. To the left, you'll also see the icon for deleting a widget. If you'd like to change the layout of your homepage, simply click on the widget's title and drag the box to a new location on your screen. You're not a cookie-cutter person, so don't settle for cookie-cutter technology. Work smarter with Skyward's dashboards and widgets. Stay tuned for the next Quick Hits for Teachers, coming soon.
Since it is that time of the year, some gradebook display options, but this probably would also be beneficial for setting up your Skyward for next year as well.
Hi, I'm Laura. As a teacher, you've got your own unique style. Your classroom reflects your personality as much as it does your instructional approach. But what if you could personalize your gradebook too? Cue Skyward's gradebook display options. In the main gradebook, select Display Options from the menu above the list of students. Student Display allows you to customize just that, how your students' names are displayed. View nicknames, add elements such as student ID and grade level, and sort your students by name, seat, or grade sheet sequence. Once you've made changes, be sure to click Save. Use Assignment Display to select which items are visible in your gradebook, such as averages, term grades, and assignments. You can also choose how assignments will be titled. With Grade Period Display, you can select which term grades are visible or set the boundaries based on a date range. Modify Grade Sheet Sequence gives you the flexibility to change the order of students in your gradebook. To make a change, simply click on the student's name, then click Move Up or Move Down. Your class is one of a kind, and your gradebook should be too. Work smarter with Skyward's customizable gradebook display options. And stay tuned for the next Quick Hits for Teachers coming soon.
All right, so video reflections. How many Skyward features do you already use that were mentioned? What Skyward features were new to you? And what Skyward features mentioned would you consider beneficial or would maybe like to know more about? Go ahead and mention a few things in the dialog box if you're taking this course as a self-paced one. And you'll need to answer these questions before you can move on with the video. All right, our training summary for today. Today we hopefully accomplished creating a personal profile for you and sharing folders from one drive to another, making copies of files so that you can have ownership of them, creating master folders, color coding folders, and the use of descriptions, mainly for files, using symbols or emojis for your labels of folders, the use of Drive workspaces, and utilizing your priorities section, how to add files to multiple folders, and actually how to add multiple files to multiple folders, some Google Classroom cleanup tips, so just a little brief overview of that, and some Skyward overview and suggestions and tips. Reflection, what is one thing you found beneficial from today's training and why? And you'll need to answer that question before you can finish up this video. And last but not least, thank you for joining us today. Make sure you click on the links that are available in the pop-up message that will appear soon to fill out the attendance and the evaluation form.